Well, it says to ask the main speaker if she's brought a 10-minute speaker. Did you? That would be me. My name's Susie, and I'm an alcoholic. And it's always an honor and a pleasure to speak at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. You've got a great group here, and you're all obviously very involved in your own lives, your own sobriety. Congratulations to the CHIP people. My sobriety date is October 15th, 1984. My home group is Seal Beach Speakers Group, Monday night, and my sponsor is Polly. And Polly tells all of us that we better identify that way when we speak at a meeting, because that way we ensure to you that we are upstanding citizens of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you don't have a sobriety date, I suggest you get one. And if you don't have a home group, I suggest you get one. And if you don't have a sponsor, I do. It's those three things that keep me moving forward in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm of service in this home group. I love that you read chapter 3 at the beginning of your meeting. It always reminds me of all the things that I was powerless of. I never did any of those things to try to control my drinking and using. I was completely incapable of doing any of those things. It never dawned on me to do any of those things. You know, swore off with or without a solemn oath. I started drinking at 13, and I never drew a sober breath for the next 14 years. Not once did it dawn on me that my problem was alcohol and drugs. I grew up in a little town in Long Beach called Belmont Shore, and like I told you, I started at a very young age. By the time I started drinking when I was 13, by the time I was 14, my drug of choice was LSD. I wanted to go as far away as I possibly could, as quickly as possible. And by the time I was 15, I was hitting a horrible bottom. Now, I don't know about you, but I have dependencies on everything. I've been dependent on drugs and alcohol, men, women, food, you name it, I become dependent on it. And the only thing that saved me from the hard drugs at that time was a boy that came into my life who didn't like me taking LSD. I said, fine, I'll stop. You just give me something else. So it went like that for a long time. There was nothing more important to me than alcohol. Nothing more important to me than alcohol and having a good time. Jobs went by the wayside. Eventually, men went by the wayside. I just wanted to get as far away from the way I felt as I possibly could. By the time I was 27, I'd been in a hospital a couple of times, and I was in for the last time with pancreatitis. I was 95 pounds, hadn't eaten in 2 weeks, and I had a little cocaine problem. When I was 25, I got a substantial inheritance. I got $250,000. And I thought, my gosh, here I am, 25 years old, $250,000. The possibilities were endless. And you know what I did for 2 years? I sat in my apartment like a laboratory rat. And all I did was, I didn't bring people in, well, once in a while, but not very often. I literally did nothing but sit in front of a pile of cocaine and with my booze sitting next to me. And you know, I'm really grateful that I was able to hit the bottom that I hit, because I've been able to stay sober since that. Anyway, I went into Long Beach Community Hospital. I told them that I had a problem. Never thought I did before, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me that I might. I had pancreatitis. My electrolytes were almost completely shut down. I was going insane. I was hallucinating terribly in the hospital. And my mother, who had turned a blind eye to all of my escapades while I was growing up, sat with me the entire time. I was there for 2 weeks, and I could not eat. They told my mother that I was probably not going to leave that hospital. I'd been very athletic as a kid. That had all gone by the wayside. I had an Olympic coach when I was in my early 20s. That all went, yeah, I mean, they want you to work out, for God's sakes. I really did was a hopeful in athletics. None of that mattered to me. None of that mattered to me. Anyways, my mother's sitting next to me by my bed the whole time. And finally, it got so bad, and she saw that I wasn't going to get better. I believe that God intervened. And she took all the tubes out of me, everything out of me, and said, Susie, keep down the goddamn pudding. Because they won't let you go unless you hold something down. And believe me, by this time, I had been smoking pot in this hospital. I was a character. And the doctor was more than willing to let me go. My mother put me in her car, and she drove me down to La Jolla. She lived in Del Mar at the time. and she put me into a treatment center. I was so sick that they had to put me back into the hospital, but you get the idea. I was pretty sick. And I ended up going into this treatment center, and I'll tell you what, it was like camp to me. They told me that I did not have to live like that. And they told me that they didn't have to any longer either. They took us to these AA meetings, and I loved Alcoholics Anonymous from the get-go. I am so grateful for my charmed attitude at the beginning, because it didn't last. But I did have a charmed attitude at the very beginning. I went to all the meetings. I stayed in the treatment program. All my friends I developed in that treatment center, particularly one heroin addict that I loved, just more than anything in the world, and how we are. Fell in love in the treatment center. But apparently he was falling in love a lot in that treatment center. But you know what? I believed them when they said that they didn't have to drink one day at a time. And I went to AA meetings. I found a home group. I became of service at that home group. I found a sponsor. I called her. I worked the steps. I just did what I was told to do because I did not want to go back to where I was. I took it to the end. And I'll tell you what, my life completely changed as a result of not drinking one day at a time. And my attitude completely changed as a result of working the steps. My life was wonderful, and I think I can equate that. You go to meetings, you'd work the program, life is good. I felt good. And at 6 years sober, the unthinkable happened. My mother went into the treatment center 2 days after I got out. We got sober together, and we trudged the happy road for 6 years together. I lived with her for the first couple of years and had the childhood I never had. My sponsor and her family and my mother and my family, we were all one big family. We did everything together. And the unthinkable happened when I was 6 years sober. My mother got diagnosed with cancer and was told that she had 2 years to live, but within a month my mother was dead. And my sponsor, at the same time my mother was in the hospital, went into an institution. She had some type of a psychic split and was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she came out like Jack Nicholson did in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And the two most important people to me were gone. I'll tell you what, if it had not been for this program, I surely would have died. There's just no doubt. My biggest fear in sobriety, and I voiced it, was that my mother would someday die. That's how dependent I was. I mean, not only did I love my mother, but I knew I couldn't survive without her. And, the next 10 years, the next 9-10 years were kind of a blur. Just something that I'm just now coming out of because I was in such shock at the time. But this program and the women in this program helped me to get through that without having to drink, without having to kill myself, basically. And I went on to go to college. While I was teaching college, I became a tennis pro, taught tennis and got myself through college. The tennis kind of took on a life of itself, and I found myself getting an athletic scholarship when I was 36 years old. I went to a Division II college, played. We were number 3 in the nation. It was absolutely incredible. I didn't think I had any sort of an athletic career left in me. And here I was, a teaching pro and touring on the college tour. I graduated college with a bachelor's degree. I went on and got a teaching credential. And in San Diego at the time, there were absolutely no jobs available. Nothing was available for teachers, especially a physical education teacher. So I made a decision to move back to Long Beach. And I thought for sure I was going to get struck drunk. But I didn't get struck drunk. I shopped around, went to meetings. I wasn't really getting acclimated like I'd hoped. And I called my old sponsor, another sponsor that I had, and her husband gets on the phone. He says, "God damn it, Susie, I told you to go to that Still Beach speakers meeting. Ask for Frank." So I was in so much pain at that time, I thought, okay, I'll do it, and I went to the Still Beach group, and I said, "Hi, Frank, my name is Susie, and Bobo told me to tell you hello, and I just want you to know this is my first time here." He says, "Well, welcome, chicken. You're our 7-minute speaker." And I'll tell you what, from that moment on, my life has not been the same. Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life for the second time, the moment I walked into that room. I have got the best home group that you would ever want in your life. These people are the real deal. They give it away as freely as they got it. And I'll tell you what, I know that a lot of you in this group do the same. You're welcoming to us, and I mean, you're so involved in your own sobriety and helping others. It's just the way it works. The next week, after I got approached by a number of people for speaking engagements. For the last 8 years or so, I've got, 1 foot in AA and 1 foot out of AA. I'm just trying to hold on, for my life. And suddenly I'm completely immersed in it again. The next week I go back. I said, Frank, it's me again. I'm back. He says, welcome. I said, could you please walk me over to the most sober woman in this room? And he walked me over to Polly. And I'm just, I'm so grateful to this program in introducing me to people like Frank and Polly. Her message is an incredible one, and it's one of service. And I'll tell you what, you don't get any more than you give in this program. It's the way it works. Half measures avails nothing. It really is kind of a slap in the face. I really thought I could just do the half measure thing, and I get tired of going to meetings and all those people. And you feel the same way. We all get mad at each other, and I mean, it's like a little kindergarten in here. We get to learn how to behave and then go take it back out in the real world. Well, I've got a job now. I'm teaching middle school. I tell everybody I'm a high school teacher in the body of a middle school teacher. I can't get out, but I'm teaching over in North Long Beach. We're borderline Compton, and it's a real rough area, and it's a real tough crew. But, God put me there for a reason. And apparently I have something to offer these kids. And believe me, I have to ask God what that is every couple of seconds. What can I possibly have to offer these little darlings? But I love it. It's my calling, as is Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm grateful to be sober, and I'm grateful to be here tonight. Thanks.